Text Jobcast by Indeed. Hired from home, preparing for your virtual interview.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Jobcast.
Meet your hosts.
I'm excited to introduce our presenter today, Tailor Meadows. Tailor is a recruitment evangelist at Indeed, where he consults with national employers, helping them improve recruitment strategies through data, insights, and trends. And that's me, Brandy Warwis. I'm on Indeed's Job Seeker Experience team, and we're responsible for creating helpful resources and events like this Jobcast and the virtual hiring tour for our users, like you. Take it away, Tailor.
Hi, everyone. It is really lovely to be with you today. I'm just delighted to be sharing this content with you. I find that it's going to be really helpful for you. We're going to be covering all things virtual interviewing. We know that COVID-19 has just changed the way of the world, but don't worry, we have your back. And like I said, I think that a lot of the tips that we have here for you today are going to be really helpful as you navigate this new world.
Learning objectives.
But this is what you can expect to learn today. So I'm going to walk you through how to prepare for your virtual interview. Much of it is going to be similar to preparing for an actual interview, but there are some nuances that we feel we want to communicate just so that you feel as confident as possible when you step into your conversation. We're going to look at some video interviewing best practices, and I'm going to introduce you to a couple platforms that you may come in contact with, as well as what to do when things just don't go as planned, because they totally happen. But I'm going to walk you through how you can actually use that to your benefit. And then lastly, we're going to go over how to follow up after the event. All right, so let's go ahead and get us kicked off. You've probably seen this before. This is our North Star, our mission at Indeed.
Text, we help people get jobs.
And hey, we recognize that this mission is more important than ever right now. And we definitely don't take it lightly. I have to tell you, I'm so proud to work for Indeed right now. We've really innovated on your behalf to really kind of match the times right now. Specifically to all things hiring practices going online. So what we've done is created a couple of new programs, one of which I'm really, really proud of. It's called the Virtual Hiring Tour. And it's our response to everything that has kind of happened with things shifting to online.
Indeed.com/virtual hiring tour.
And so, as you know right now, millions of people are out of work, and we feel the sincere responsibility to assist with that. So what we did is we essentially created an online series of virtual hiring events that's traveling around the country right now, meant to connect you with jobs and recruiters faster and in a way that's safe and efficient. We know that applying for a job and not hearing back is arguably one of the worst parts about the job search process. So this is actually a way for you to dial in, meet with a recruiter automatically, interview for the position, and maybe even get an on-spot offer, if not an expedited offer. So it's a way for us to kind of trim the fat for you, really kind of reduce the amount of time that you have to wait to hear back and get you back to work quickly, because we know that that's the most important thing to you right now. So visit the link that you see on the page if you want to learn more. And then, of course, let us know if you have any questions specific to the virtual hiring tour. But everything else that we talk about today is going to be pertinent to not just the virtual hiring tour, but if you're just video interviewing in general, everything that we discuss is going to be relevant for you there as well. So I want to really kick us off by, kind of acknowledging something important. So even though these virtual interviews they're easier to get to, we just really want to make sure that you don't bypass preparation, because it's very real. And something else humbly that I'm going to submit as a request from you is if you do respond yes, an RSVP to an interview, I ask that you show up for it. As much as we can get frustrated with employers and not responding to us in a timely fashion, they equally get frustrated with job seekers who don't show up to interviews. So while I don't assume that many of you will do that, it has happened, and I just want to make sure that we're respecting them as much as they're trying to respect us during this time. So what I want to do is kick off with a recommendation around the job description and event details itself. I know that this probably sounds like common sense, but there are some important things to keep in mind here. So of course, outside of just the job description detailing the role itself, there might be details within the event description itself that are going to be really important. And these could range from whether or not the employer is going to offer, on the spot, if this is just the first interview out of a series of many interviews, maybe additional job requirements or certifications that you might need. but they also might detail any materials that they want you to bring with you to the interview, or maybe even expectations on what you should wear. So, read those details carefully because it can be very helpful just to set up for the tone of the conversation.
Research company values. Indeed.com/companies.
What I would encourage you to do is, research the company ahead of time. So you can do this in a couple of different ways, because let me tell you, there is nothing more impressive to a recruiter when you can speak fluently to their business. So one thing that you can do is, of course, go to their corporate career site and learn about the company, life, mission, all that good stuff there. Another place, though, you can visit is Indeed. You can actually go to our platform and you can search for the name of the company itself. And there you're going to find unique information that is going to be very helpful in determining whether or not the company is a right fit for you. Like, for example, reviews. You can go in and you can actually filter reviews based on job title itself. And what's really cool about that is if you want to get the opinion or try to understand a little bit more about what experience someone else has had in that role, great place to learn about that. There's also a great tab on every company page on Indeed called Q&A as well. It kind of acts as our community forum where people can go in and ask questions and then answer them. So if you're ever wanting additional information about what it's like to interview there, what expectations are set around working schedules and things like that, great source of information that I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of. Now, when it comes to actually applying for a position, a recommendation here that I'm going to make for you is to tailor your resume. So if you, have applied to a job, or if you are reading through maybe the description of it itself, one thing that you can do is just maybe pick out specific keywords in that job description and then make sure that they're in your resume as well so that you're creating a symbiotic match. Something that I always recommend to friends, family members, anyone applying to a job or updating their resume, make sure that you have that summary at the very top. It's usually about a sentence long, but what it does is it kind of just introduces who you are and how you're looking to contribute to the organization or the role. And it just sets a really nice precedent for the rest of the document. What I would just encourage you to do from there is just be authentic when you're filling out the rest of your resume, but make sure that you have key points in there like accomplishments or awards. And what's great about this is that when you are actually then talking to your recruiter about the role itself, it can be easily referenced and it's going to match what they're seeing on their screen as well. So let's kind of talk about some general best practices because we know that practice makes perfect. So if you haven't done so already, what I'm going to encourage you to do is work on your pitch. It's about 1 minute long, but really what it is, it's a summary of who you are as a professional, what you believe in, what your career goals are, and really how you are going to be able to contribute to the business. If you're kind of questioning how to construct this, what I would encourage you to think about are questions like, are you better with numbers or are you more creative? Do you have, really great experience, in the realm of the type of role that you're applying for? Or have you had a really great experience, with the company in the past? I'll share with you that right out of college, my first job, I was a front door concierge in an Apple store. But one of the reasons why I really wanted to work there was because I had had great experiences at the Genius Bar when I took my computer in when I was in college to get serviced. And I really kind of recognized that everyone in the store seemed to genuinely enjoy their job. So I talked about that in my pitch and made sure that I included that in my interview. And it really created a personal touch to indicate why I felt that I personally connected to the business. I would encourage you to think about the same thing. What I also want you to do is use your resume as a guide. So whether or not this is maybe having your resume up next to you when you're actually interviewing or maybe printed out next to your computer as you're interviewing as well, it's going to be just an easier way for you to reference it so that you can get numbers and facts and figures right if you ever did want to reference those. I also want you to prepare at least one question for your virtual interview. Now, because these interviews are often condensed, you may only have time for 1 or 2 questions. But maybe some example questions that I would offer up would be, could you describe the working culture of the company, or how does the company measure success in this role? It's going to showcase to your recruiter that you're actively interested in learning more about the role, but it's also going to create a nice conversational tone for you to correspond. So Brandy has actually gone ahead and submitted an article for you in the chat. Called 10 questions to ask during an interview. So if you are interested in learning what additional questions you can ask, that would be a great resource to reference.
Indeed.com/career-advice/interviewing/questions-after-interview.
And then finally, test your tech. We're actually going to talk about this in a little bit greater detail in just a couple of minutes. But I want you to make sure that your mic is working, your camera's working, and that you've got good internet so that you don't have to think about that right during the interview or allow it to distract you. So this is actually going to transition us very nicely into kind of the meat and potatoes of what I want to talk to you about today. So I really want to make sure that you feel that you are set up for success during your interview call. So as Brandy mentioned earlier, there are quite a few points on the next couple slides that I want to go over. Don't feel pressured to take copious amount of notes. You're going to get a copy of this afterwards, as well as additional articles in that chat. But these are the general best practices that I want to walk you through. So I know it may seem obvious, but if you're in a household of other people, just make it vibrantly clear to everyone that you just need some private time behind a closed door to have the interview. Maybe even pad your time with 15 minutes on either side. That's you have a minute to collect yourself. But maybe face the door or have it visible so that if someone does actually walk in the room while you are interviewing, A, they're not caught on camera, and B, they can kind of see that you're engaged, and then allow you some space. I think that that's really important. When it comes to lighting, I am very specific about this. I'm in a role myself where I'm constantly communicating in a virtual environment. My trick is that I sit in front of a big window so that I leverage natural light to kind of illuminate me. It makes me look less tired, I feel, and it just kind of presents a nicer overall tone to the conversation. Now, if you're in a room where you don't have natural light, I would encourage you to maybe look at a ring light, for example. They're really cheap on Amazon and they ship within 2 days on Prime. And they even have clip-on ones so that you can actually clip it right above your webcam so that it just adds a nice illumination to your face to create a better experience both for you and for the recruiter. I also want you to clean your space. So what do I mean by this? I remember being in second grade and my teacher, Mrs. Booth, who is arguably my favorite teacher of all time, I remember her telling me, organize space, organize mind. I can't tell you that this little psychological trip, how much it actually helps. Little things too, like making your bed, tidying up, the kitchen, or, cleaning those dishes. It actually does influence you to think a little bit more clearly and communicate more clearly. So if you're looking for an interesting, fun trick to employ, especially if you're a little bit nervous before your interview, try cleaning up your space. It actually really, really helps. Like I said, have a copy of that resume handy so that you can easily reference it, and always have a glass of water nearby. Our body tends to play weird tricks on us when, like I said, we're either nervous or we're wanting to be very clear in our communication or maybe remember specific points. Our mouth gets dry. So just have it next to you, just ready to use so that you can reset yourself if you need to. So when we think about tech best practices, here are some of the recommendations that I can offer up. So, as I mentioned, you always want to make sure that your webcam, your mic, and your audio are all working. Just dial in a couple minutes ahead of time to check those things. But I would really challenge you to clean up your space virtually as well. So, close out any windows, tabs, or applications that are open. If you're maybe going to, have to share your screen for whatever reason, make sure your desktop is cleaned up as well. I've heard recruiters actually tell me I pay attention to the cleanliness or the tidiness of a desktop background, kind of right to indicate, that thought process of the candidate. So that could be a good trick that I could offer up for you. And, make sure that all of those notifications are paused. So if you're anything like me, my Mac is just alerting me of my Gmail notifications, social media mentions, news updates, all that. Just make sure that your computer or device is on Do Not Disturb so that you're not distracted during your interview. And then have your phone on silent, and then maybe even turned upside down, screen down, so that should you get a notification, even if it is on silent, your phone lights up, you're not tempted to look down and reference it. Now, what I'd love to do is I'd love to spend a couple of minutes introducing you to our very brand new platform called Virtual Interviewing Platform that we've conveniently named VIP.
An Indeed interview reminder and a screenshot of a man and woman smiling over video chat.
But this is our in-house solution that we designed for you so that you can have an overall better interviewing experience. So let me just quickly walk you through some of the nuances of the platform so that you know what features you can make use of to have a great, smooth experience. So the day before the interview, you're actually going to receive both an email and a text message. And both of these messages are going to contain a link to the actual video platform itself. And here are some things that you can expect. So once you actually click into the platform, you're going to come to a check-in screen. And here you're going to see a custom welcome message from the employer themselves. And then you'll be prompted to get directly in line. You're going to see a pop-up asking for your phone number, which we use to text you so that you actually know when it's time for your interview so that you don't have to just sit there right in front of your screen and wait. Then you'll be able to see how many people are in line ahead of you, which is going to be really good for kind of setting timing expectations, right, and knowing kind of where you are in line. And then once your actual turn to be interviewed, you're going to see a timer on your page itself, which means that you've got about 5 minutes to join, which is really important because if you don't do that, then you're going to get moved to the back of the line. And we just want to respect time as much as possible. And then when you're ready, go ahead and click join interview room and you'll be automatically entered in. Now you're always going to enter in first before the interviewer. So you're going to have time to just kind of check yourself a little bit, make sure that your surroundings are good to go. And then the interviewer is going to join. And very similarly to FaceTime or Zoom, you're going to have all of the same controls. So you're going to be able to mute yourself, stop the video and end the call. Now, outside of our own platform, if you are going to be using Zoom, because a lot of employers are actually using that platform, and we're obviously using it now, just make sure that you have the date and time of that interview saved on your personal calendar, and make sure that you've got the app downloaded and that the account is already created, just so that you don't have to fuss with it the day of. And then log in 5 minutes ahead of time, again, just to make sure that everything is working and in good shape so that you feel confident in your interview, which kind of brings me to setting the stage. So oftentimes, right, we always get asked, what should I wear to the interview? I always roll with smart casual. So as I'm wearing today, right, a button down, maybe a blazer, a nice blouse, whatever you feel most comfortable in. But you can't really ever go wrong in that capacity. You don't necessarily want to be overdressed, but you don't want to be underdressed. So I find that this is kind of a good happy medium. I also want you to think about your lighting in terms of, especially if you wear glasses, right? If you are using a ring light, you just want to make sure that that glare isn't directly in front of you because we don't want that to distract the interview at all. And then, position yourself in the center of your video as best as you can, just so that it's as lifelike as possible. And then, a last tip that I could offer here is, I know when we're, using Zoom and video platforms that we typically get dressed from right, like the top up, because that's what people see. But in the event that you do, have someone walk in or you have to get up for whatever reason, just make sure that, you've got good pants on or good bottoms, just so that you're fully complete, so that doesn't have to be an issue for you if it does present itself. I want you to be very aware of your body language as well. So you obviously look at the webcam when you're speaking, just so that your direct line of sight is directed at the interviewer. I position my Zoom window just right in the middle of my screen, so that it's very easy and natural to kind of engage. Show good energy, show enthusiasm for the role. Posture is psychologically proven to help you appear more confident. So if that's something that you've struggled with in the past, right, just being aware of posture could really help you out. Nodding when listening just shows active engagement, and then hand gestures. As you can tell, I'm a gesturer myself. You want to just be aware that you're not too animated, so that it doesn't, distract or detract from the overall conversation itself. But feel free to gesture as you wish, because you want it to feel as natural as possible. And then we want you to maximize your time, right? So make sure that you RSVP in advance, you log in early, just so that that's not an issue, just in case you do run into anything. But I'll tell you what, if you are someone that does get nervous before an interview, try out some breathing exercises. I could recommend Calm is a great app. Headspace is another great one. They have 3-minute and 5-minute, breathing exercises. You would be surprised how much it actually helps you calm down. So like I said, if you do experience, nerves at all, that actually is something that I personally leverage, and it helps me out quite a bit. And then just make sure that you've practiced your pitch enough so that when you hop in, it's a very easy, quick transition into the conversation, and you can speak very eloquently to who you are, what you believe, and what you want to communicate when you get into the interview. Now, there's always a chance that something can go wrong. We have animals, we have kids, things happen, but this actually is a great way to still kind of impress your interviewer by showing that you know how to kind of navigate challenging situations. So if you run into a video or an audio interruption, something that you could do is provide your recruiter with your phone number ahead of time, so that if the conversation has to transition from video to phone, you can easily get up, either continue the conversation or maybe reschedule. I found that even just on customer service calls, when we have to call in to get a situation remedied, always give them your phone number so they know how to get you back in case the call drops. Noise interruptions in the conversation. So obviously, apologize for the noise interruptions. Construction, these things, neighbors, all these things happen to us, in our home environments. Maybe just ask for a few moments, mute your microphone if you need to kind of collect yourself. If someone does unexpectedly enter the room, what I would maybe recommend is putting yourself on mute and then taking yourself off camera, just so that you can, remedy the situation, apologize for the disruption, but maintain composure. This is a great way to showcase, right, like I said, to your interviewer that, hey, you know what, things happen. A challenger, presented itself, but I was able to handle it with grace and with dignity, and then continue on the conversation as you would, so that the conversation can flow naturally. And then follow up with a thank you email. So oftentimes within 24 hours, this is ideal. I tend to just jet mine out as quickly as possible. Obviously thank them for their time, but something that I would maybe recommend for you is pinpoint a very specific piece of the conversation that stood out to you, so that as the recruiter is reading through your note, they're going to be able to easily reference a point that they may remember as well, and it's going to then kind of trigger your face to the note, so that they can better recall the conversation and allow you to stand out as a candidate. So obviously reiterate your enthusiasm for the role and take it away. So we want to make sure that we answer your questions. I see that we've had a couple come through. And from here, if we don't have time to answer your question, feel free to visit Indeed Community. If you just go to Indeed.com, at the very bottom of the screen, there's a link for Community. This is our ongoing chat thread being moderated by career coaches at Indeed to answer your questions as they come in. So feel free to leverage that as a resource as well. So Brandy, what questions have come through the chat?
Thanks, Taylor. So the first and most voted question that we have here is, if 3 people are signed up for the same interview slot, are we all getting interviewed together in a group or separately by different people? And I can actually answer that. Assuming that this is regarding the virtual hiring tour, you'll be interviewed separately. So as Taylor mentioned, you kind of have to get into line once you click that link to join the interview. So you'll be able to see on your screen how many people are ahead of you and when it's your time to interview. And you should just plan to join the link at the start time of your time slot. So the next question we have here, I am usually a cook, and I had to leave the best job I have ever had because I have a weakened immune system, so I need a fully remote position. I have an interview tomorrow. Do I share that with the interviewer? So first, I would just check that the interview for the role that you're interviewing for tomorrow is remote or temporarily remote, just so that you aren't wasting the employer's time if it's not remote and you can't do the job. But besides that, if the hiring manager asks you, why you had to leave your last position, I think it's absolutely, relevant and makes sense to share that with them. I don't think that would be an issue, assuming that the new role is remote, and just helps them understand where you're coming from. Taylor, any other thoughts on that?
No, I have the exact same sentiment there. And I just want to say, I'm sorry that you lost your favorite job. I know that that's not just taxing from an income perspective, but it's emotionally taxing as well. So I'm sorry to hear that, but I just want to wish you luck in your interview tomorrow. I hope that it goes well. Definitely.
So another question we have here, how do we get the recruiter or the hiring manager's email address? I'd say that the easiest way to do that, if you don't already have it from just interactions before the interview, is to ask them during your call and just say, can I get your email address to send you a thank you? Or even, say, in case I have any more questions or want to reach out. I think that's a pretty solid way to get that information. And if they say that they're not comfortable giving that information out or something, then you did your best. You can always try and find them on LinkedIn or reach out to the other recruiter who helped set it up.
Yeah, Brandy, and really quick, one thing I just would like to add to that, it kind of inspired a thought, is if you do get the name, obviously, of the person who's going to be interviewing you, yeah, look them up on LinkedIn and see if there is any personal overlap that you can reference. I always find that in preparing for an interview, if I have a little bit better of an understanding of who it is that I'm going to be talking to, maybe I can identify where they went to school, or maybe an organization that they volunteered with. It always just warms up the conversation and shows that you've done your homework.
I love that. Thanks, Taylor. And we'll take one more question here. If you are offered a job on the spot, but feel you still need more information before accepting, what can you do? Taylor, you want to take that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. I don't think that there's anything wrong with just being honest about needing a little bit more information. Right? That's actually a great position to be in. You know that you are being offered the job, and maybe for even interviewing for other positions as well. I would just be honest about that and let them know that you need some time to make your acceptance decision. Maybe think about a time frame to offer them so that they have a better understanding of when they can expect your answer. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with just being very clear and upfront about that, so that you don't feel pressured to just say yes because you're being offered.
Makes a lot of sense. Thanks, Taylor. So I know we're at time, but if you found this to be helpful, check out our other jobcasts at go.indeed.com/jobcast. And for the latest information from Indeed, follow us on social media. And thanks for watching, and good luck with your virtual interviews, everyone. Have a good one.
Text Jobcast by Indeed